Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech. Good to see you guys again, and I'm here with my initial review of the Xiaomi CC9 Pro Premium Edition, and I guess I'm also here with my initial review of the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. Now, I've decided to put these phones together here to do this initial review. We'll be going down in a quick take format here, just talking about my initial thoughts of these phones. And clearly, as you know, the question that I want to answer for myself is which phone will I keep long term? There's a lot of benefits to having that P8 lens, that higher capacity RAM and storage options on this CC9 Pro Premium Edition, but then you also have the cons of it being the China version, of this phone being the global Mi Note 10, which has a lot of benefits to it as well. Now guys, I have not done my full camera shootout with these phones yet. I just got this last night, so I will be doing that full camera comparison in a separate video. Stay tuned for that. But for now, let's talk about these phones and get started. So talking about design, we have the same dimensions on both the CC9 Pro Premium Edition and the Mi Note 10. And you can tell the major difference here is the color scheme, where we have this gorgeous green, kind of turquoise green, and then the Mi Note 10 version, you can distinguish it because it is the white version. Glacier white to be exact. 9.7 millimeters and 208 grams. These are pretty hefty phones, but the reason being they both house that 5,260 milliampere battery. It is incredible, one of the largest capacity Xiaomi's ever put in one of their regular size or kind of larger size phones. Looking at the bottom, same features here, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, USB-C. You got an absolutely clean edge on this side. IR blaster and mics in the same spot, and volume rocker and power buttons as well with the SIM tray at the bottom. And here it's really a matter of preference. Personally, I think that this Mi Note 10 in this gorgeous glacier white is the most striking of the two colors. But I also think for you guys who love green or this type of deep green color that a lot of China OEMs have been doing, this may be the more attractive option. As you can see also, the CC9 Pro does have a much cleaner back. There's no wording here, and I do appreciate that. The Mi Note 10 has some of this kind of stuff that just makes it a bit more of an eyesore. I really wish they hadn't done that on this Mi Note 10. And I've changed the background of the CC9 Pro Premium Edition. Just keep in mind that this kind of bluish purplish wallpaper is the CC9 Pro, and this is the Mi Note 10 in this kind of nice orange wallpaper. Great wallpapers from Xiaomi with MIUI 11, and I would say the inclusion of MIUI 11 out of the box is what makes these phones also feel so much more fluid and better to use. As you can see from the front displays, we got a very similar white point, and the colors just pop. Now this is a little bit darker just because I've lowered it a little bit, but you have essentially the same gorgeous 6.47-inch AMOLED panel. You do have a curved edge on these. The bezels though are tiny. I know you notch haters, not a huge fan of the notch, but both of these phones are essentially identical when it comes to design, display, and we'll go into performance in a second. Now I will say that just because this phone has a very special thing to it in terms of display, DRM Info, a major deal here, L1 versus L3. So imagine you're paying more for the China version, and wow, unfortunately, you're going to have HD Netflix capability on the Mi Note 10 version of the phone. So when it comes to watching content or HD content in those cases, this may be the better option overall. I think in terms of design and display, it's pretty much, though, equal, and it really will come down to just personal preference, which color you like the most. And here's some quick YouTube playback on these phones. Now, I was asked the question, is there Dolby Atmos? I don't see any mention of Dolby Atmos, and I do also think it is just a single bottom firing speaker. It is definitely a single bottom firing speaker in this case. These phones really do look like flagships in terms of appearance and design, but I'm sure there are some corners they've had to cut, and that may have been one of them. But the audio quality experience just from watching content seems pretty good, and once again, a very identical experience. If you do like having a completely notchless display, then maybe this isn't the phone for you. And this notch, I'm not as huge a fan of it over, let's say, something like the one on the OnePlus 7T. But it's all a personal preference. It'll still suit your needs for watching content. And so now let's just quickly spend some time on performance. So both of these phones are running that Snapdragon 730G, which I tested on the Realme X2, the regular version. And these scores are pretty indicative of that, with a 2,500 single and around almost 7,000 multi-core for both of them. Here's the difference between the Mi Note 10 though and the CC9 Pro. While this one is running 6 gigs of RAM, this one is running 8 gigs, and this doubles the storage capacity here at 256 gigs of storage. Now, that is going to be a question for you guys who are looking at the global versus the regular version. It's kind of a similar situation that I ran into with the K20 Pro versus the Mi 9T Pro, and I know a lot of you guys couldn't find that 8 gig 256 version of the Mi 9T Pro, which is available in Hong Kong. It's going to be a similar deal with this Mi Note 10, I feel, where you may be struggling to find the CC9 Pro Premium Edition or Mi Note 10 Pro version of the phone. But honestly, when it comes down to it, performance on both of these is great. And so far, I haven't had any slowdowns whatsoever. I will say I've noticed the CC9 Pro Premium Edition feels just a little hint faster, and I do think it has to do with having that extra RAM, and just a little bit more storage will make a difference. But you can tell here, this phone is very fast, and I gotta say, the Snapdragon 730G is still my favorite mid-range chip of 2019 by far. And I don't think you should worry about performance if all you're doing, I think, is mostly just day-to-day use. If you're not a hardcore gamer and need that Snapdragon 855 Plus, you should be fine. The one thing I will mention, though, is that when it comes to taking videos and photos, there is a benefit to having a higher powered chip, but there's also a power draw in that too. So I think Xiaomi in this case, we do have the unfortunate aspect of not having 4K 60 FPS because the chip just cannot handle it. So there are some gives and takes here in terms of performance, but I think both of these essentially offer a really stellar kind of upper mid-range, I would say almost, performance to suit your needs. So before jumping into the quick audio test, I just wanted to mention here the MIUI 11 situation and how it compares between the CC9 Pro Premium and the Mi Note 10. Obviously, this being the global version, you have a few nice additions. You have this kind of area of options in the multitasking, which I do like, deep clean, manage apps, and the cleaner. And you also have this pre-installed Google suite of apps right from the get-go. But I will say it was much easier to download Google apps, and can confirm they are now working on this CC9 Pro Premium Edition. I just went to the Get Apps store, and as you can see, the Play Store is now visible. Instead of downloading that separate packet you used to do in previous versions of MIUI, I just pressed install, and then once it was ready to install the Play Store, it added Google Frameworks, Google Play Services essentially, and within 5 minutes, I was ready to go. So that was really impressive. Now, I will say there's still a lot of bloat on the China ROM versions, and I had to delete around 15 to 20 apps just to get it kind of looking a lot cleaner. You know, something to keep in mind, I think the L1, the DRM Info aspect is something to keep in mind. If you value global ROMs, if you value multi-language support, this is your choice. Do not get the CC9 Pro. You have English and just Chinese and a few other dialects, and that's it. So I highly recommend for you guys who do want the global version. A lot of my audience is global, so consider this Mi Note 10, or maybe wait for the Mi Note 10 Pro, kind of the souped up edition if you really want the P8 lens, the specs, and the features of this CC9 Pro Premium. Okay, and now quick audio test. I think this should be pretty similar on these bottom firing speakers with 3.5mm headphone jacks on both the CC9 Pro Premium and the Mi Note 10. Let's have a listen. Alright guys, what can I say? I guess what do you expect? Identical sound from both the CC9 Pro Premium Edition and the Mi Note 10. So you essentially don't have to worry that you're getting shortchanged on the lower level, quote unquote, lower level device. I think the Mi Note 10 sounds great. Now these speakers aren't like the best that I've heard, but they do fill up a room, and there's a little bit of loss of detail at the higher volumes, but I do appreciate the fact that they haven't shortchanged the Mi Note 10 in this case. It'll suit your regular, casual, play a song, in a small room or play it at home needs. But I don't think obviously reaches the level of the Mate 20X or even of kind of the iPhone or other phones like the Galaxy Fold that just offer terrific audio quality. Talking about battery, are you really going to be concerned about it on these phones? Xiaomi has put in a 5,260 milliampere capacity and is one of the pretty much largest batteries that has been put in a Xiaomi phone, second only to the Mi Max 3 at this point. And considering that the display on these is full HD and it's only 6.47 inches, you're going to get some killer battery life from these phones. Now I will be fully testing these out later next week probably, so stay tuned for that. But at the same time, I also wanted to bring up the fact that these, on top of this this long-lasting battery, we also have fast charging of 30 watts. So kind of matching the 17 in terms of that power draw. 58% in around 30 minutes is kind of the estimated time. But stay tuned, guys. I will be sharing my full battery results very soon. And so, as I mentioned, I will be sharing also that full camera shootout. I need to go out on the streets with both of these phones and take the same shots and really compare them. Stay tuned for that separate video. I will say, though, the question you guys have been asking, like, why is this such a big difference, or is it a big difference? I guess the reality is it's not that big of a difference. You have a P8 lens versus a P7 lens on this one versus this one. What does that mean? That there's essentially 8 layers of this kind of lens, this plastic, 8P plastic lens over the CC9 Pro Premium Edition over the regular Mi Note 10 version, which is only P7. Now, what does that mean? It just means better optics in a very kind of subtle way, but in an improved way. Better optics, which should allow for better imaging results. This is the top of the line version, but you should just think about what Xiaomi's thinking was behind this. I really don't know that there's that much of a difference, but at the same time, Xiaomi felt it necessary to give this version of the phone, this one here, not the Mi Note 10, not the regular CC9 Pro, to DxOMark to score. Now, do I think the Mi Note 10 would have scored that much lower in DxOMark? To be honest, DxOMark has a lot of kind of issues, I think, in terms of scoring. Some people really don't believe in it. Some of you guys just swear by it. I really don't think the Mi Note 10 would have scored probably much lower, but maybe it would have in a few key areas. That is why Xiaomi made sure that they gave this P8 lens version, the Premium Edition version, to DxOMark to test. We don't know, though, because obviously DxOMark has not shared any results of the regular Mi Note 10, and it's a little bit sly, I think, just a little bit kind of strange and ever so slightly disingenuous from Xiaomi that they market this phone as the 121 DxOMark phone, when in reality it's not. It's only one variant of the phone that got that score. So Xiaomi, there's one quick way to put this to rest. Get the Mi Note 10 to DxOMark, get the regular CC9 Pro, and get a score for this version of the phone. And then people can decide, do they really want to spend the extra money and get this version? Or are they happy with the regular kind of optics 7P lens of the Mi Note 10? It's really up to you. Stay tuned, though, for the full camera comparison. I will really try to answer that question. Is there enough of a difference between these two phones? rear-facing video on the Mi Note 10. Fairly nice day here in Hong Kong. Getting cooler. Looks like pretty good stabilization so far. 4K 30 FPS. That's the max shooting capability of this phone. But hit me up in the comments. What do you think? And this is front-facing video on the Mi Note 10. Looks pretty good. Some very crazy things happening right now, guys. Really crazy. But looks all right. I'm pretty impressed with the stabilization so far on this phone. Hit me up in the comments. What do you think? But my final initial verdict at this point is that I don't have a final initial verdict. For the first time ever, it's too early to call, guys. And I will say, though, that the price is going to be a major consideration for you guys. The Mi Note 10 is the global version. It still cost me 4,000 Hong Kong dollars here, and I paid essentially that amount. The CC9 Pro Premium Edition is also around that price. But honestly, given the resellers right now, you still may be charged upwards of 4,500 Hong Kong dollars, so closer to 550, almost 600 US dollars for this version. Is that worth the premium that you're paying for this Snapdragon 730G, upper mid-range chip? I don't know, and that's a question I need to answer, because the cameras on these phones need to be terrific. They need to be amazing for me to say, okay, I pick it over a Galaxy Fold. I pick it over a Pixel 4 XL. I pick it over a Mi 9T Pro, which is pretty much a great deal at this point, and you can probably get this for under 400 bucks at this point with a Snapdragon 855. It is a great phone to consider. So the initial verdict is this is a great phone. I can definitely tell. There are a few things that I don't like. The vibration motor is terrible. It is OnePlus 6T era terrible, and that was a really bad vibration motor and made me swear off that phone. Not the biggest fan of the curved edge display, but I do appreciate the design and the look of this thing. Giant camera bump though, and some of you guys asked, was this glass or ceramic? I really do think it's just Gorilla Glass, but there would be a pretty large piece of ceramic to include on a phone of this price. But I will double check that. It is, though, as you can tell, it does not sit comfortably on a table. It just is always kind of moving around. So that, for any of you guys who value that kind of thing, keep that in mind as well. And last but not least, though, the performance, while great, really calls into question, are you getting the best deal to try to get some of Xiaomi's best optics and best cameras and then sacrificing in performance? That's really going to come down to you guys, but stay tuned for the full comparison and the full, obviously, camera comparison. This is a very camera-centric device, so we're going to spend a lot of time, and I'll be sharing those samples on Twitter. Stay tuned for that as well, and doing some kind of blind comparisons between these two. Stay tuned for that as well. But that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up, and if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for future updates. So appreciate the support, guys. I really shouldn't even be reviewing these phones. I should be looking for a job. I'm going to be done with my current role very soon, and then I will be essentially unemployed. So it's kind of a tough time right now. Moving into the Christmas season, I do need to kind of step up my job search game, and I will be reviewing phones. Like I mentioned, look, I have these two phones I'm still reviewing. I don't know that I'll be able to keep them for very long. I'm kind of leaning towards the Mi Note 10 right now just because it is the global version, but I really want to see, is there some great stuff that this phone brings that maybe would make me kind of choose it over the Mi Note 10. We'll see, and stay tuned for that. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech, signing off. Have a good one.